Good day, Alphonsians. Welcome to the second semester. This is Statistics and Probability. So whenever we hear the word statistics, what are the words that first come into our minds? Surely there's data, variability, measures of central tendency, such as the mean, the median, and the mode, research, survey, decision-making, and of course, math. Right? While it is true that all these words are associated with statistics, we have to correct our notion that statistics is math, because in fact, statistics is not mathematics, nor even a branch of it, because statistics has its own tools and ways of thinking, and statisticians are quite insistent that those who teach mathematics realize that statistics is not mathematics, nor it is even a branch of it. In fact, statistics is a separate discipline with its own unique ways of thinking and its own tools for approaching problems. Hence, statistics is a science that studies data to come up with a decision. It is a tool in the decision-making process. Statistics as a science involves the methods of collecting, processing, summarizing, and analyzing data in order to provide answers or solutions to an inquiry. Statistics enables us to characterize persons, objects, situations, and phenomena, explain relationships among variables, formulate objective assessments and comparisons, and more importantly, make evidence-based decisions and predictions. The statistical process in problem solving. First, you have to ask a question or identify the problem. Next, design how to collect needed data. Make sure information is maximized and bias is minimized. Collect the data. Verify the data. Summarize the information from the data. Examine and analyze the summary of information, and come up with a meaningful and insightful solution to the problem or answer to the question. Since statistical inquiries always start with asking a question or identifying the problem, it is a must that you ask the correct questions. Now, questions that can be answered through the statistical process are called statistical questions. Data gathered as responses to statistical questions should be different or of variability. Now, let's determine whether each given question is statistical or not. First, what is the shoe size of a typical Filipino teenager? Alright, this is a statistical question because the process of answering this question involves getting a representative group of Filipino teenagers, then collecting their shoe size. From the gathered data, which had undergone a quality check, a typical shoe size could be obtained. Such typical value represents a possible answer to the problem. Next, what did you eat for dinner? So to answer this question, do we need to undergo the statistical process or not? Of course not, right? So this question is not a statistical question. Next, how many hours do teenagers spend in using mobile phones for leisure? So to answer this question, we need to undergo a statistical process. That means we need to find representative of teenagers and then collect the number of hours, verify the data we collected, and then come up with a possible answer to our question. Meaning to say, this question is a statistical question. Number 4. What is the last poem written by Dr. Jose Rizal? Do we need to undergo statistical process to answer this question? No, meaning to say, this is not a statistical question. 5. Who pioneered the continental drift theory? Again, we don't have to undergo statistical process to answer this question, meaning to say this question is not statistical. 6. Would Cebuanos prefer eating lumpia rather than pancit? Correct. This is a statistical question because the process of answering this requires a statistical process. So it involves getting a representative group of Cebuanos and data as to which they prefer eating is to be collected. From the data gathered, which had undergone a quality check, a preference could be obtained. Such preference represents a possible answer to the question. Okay. Number 7, what is the fastest spinning planet? Alright, this question to be answered does not require to undergo the statistical process. Therefore, this question is not statistical. And lastly, what is the age of the oldest man in the Philippines? Alright, to answer this question, you have to undergo the statistical process. So meaning to say, this question is statistical. Alright, so you have to remember that to identify whether a question is statistical or not, you have to make sure that your question could be answered through the statistical process. So take note, formulating a concise and correct statistical question is necessary in the conduct of statistical process. While most questions can be answered with the help of statistics, not all questions or problems could be answered by a simple statistical process. Some questions or problems may require a complex one. Hence, the statistical question or problem determines the complexity of the whole statistical process. In statistical activities, data are collected from respondents for the purpose of getting the needed information. Data can be viewed as a collection of facts from experiments, observations, sample surveys, and censuses. The researchers must ensure protection of the respondents' shared private information. That is why, in most research questionnaires, giving the name of the respondent is optional. However, all survey questionnaires, bearing the respondent's name or not, must be treated with utmost confidentiality. Researchers must give a commitment to the respondents that the personal, identifiable data they provide will never be shared to anyone in any form without their consent. Researchers should display trustworthiness. This way, the respondents would be truthful in responding to the survey questions, thus will give the researchers valid data that in the end will yield true and valid research results. Now let's practice data collection. For offline learners, please fill out the student information sheet on your modules, and for the online learners, please proceed to the student's information sheet in your LMS. Assuming that we are done gathering the data that you have provided on the student's information sheet, so we already have now the data. Now, data are facts and figures that are collected and analyzed. Data, numeric or not, must be contextualized. Now, to contextualize data, we must identify its 6 W's. So first, who provided the data? So make sure that those who provided your data are those people who are part of your identified respondents. What are the information from the respondents? So you have to make sure that the information that you are asking from your questionnaire are really the information that you need for your research. When was the data collected? Now you also have to make sure that the data you are collecting are not outdated. Next, where was the data collected? Why was the data collected? How was the data collected? Okay, so these are the questions that you need to answer to contextualize your data. And when you're done, once the data are contextualized or conceptualized, there is now meaning to it and can now be summarized for interpretation. Let's say all the learners have already completed the information sheet, then the summary of data can be as follows. So we have here the class number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the sex may be male, female, female, male, and male. Number of siblings, the weight in kilograms, the height in centimeters, the age of mother in years, the usual daily allowance in school, usual daily food expenditure in school, usual number of text messages sent in a day, most preferred color, usual sleeping time, and the happiness index for the day. Alright. Now, using our summary of data here, okay, let's identify or let's unlock the following terms. First, we have the universe of the study. So the universe of the study is the collection of respondents from whom the researcher obtained the data. So in our activity, the set of students in this statistics and probability class is our universe. A variable is a characteristic that is observable or measurable in every unit of the universe. So here in our information sheet, our variables are the class number, sex, number of siblings, weight, height in centimeters, age of mother, usual daily allowance, usual daily food expenditure, usual number of text messages sent in a day, most preferred color, usual sleeping time, and happiness index for the day. Right? Now, the set of all possible values of a variable is referred to as the population. In our activity, there are 12 population corresponding to 12 variables. And lastly, a subgroup of a universe or of a population is a sample. In our activity, your response to each variable is a sample. So, methods of data collection. Now, data can be collected through the following methods. First, we have the objective. Data are obtained directly from the respondent using any combination of the 5 senses. The sense of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, to measure the variable. Subjective, this is the method that such a way data are obtained directly from the respondent using a questionnaire. Number 3, use of existing records. Data are obtained from existing, verified, and reliable records. Now, data that are collected through objective and subjective methods are primary data. Data obtained from existing records are secondary data. So that's all for today. I hope you learned something, and see you in our next video.